Stitches of love we weave so. In this online world we come to grow. Mom and Pop Quilt Shop, where hearts align. Let's embrace the craft and let our souls shine.
Hey everyone, welcome to Weekend Project. I'm Laura Lynn of the Mom and Pop Quilt Shop, and we're very happy to see you here today. We are going to work on reduce, reuse, and recycling our stuff that we have here. I pulled out a curtain that had like a big chunk missing out of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what could we really do with that sort of thing? And I'm like, well, it's got a kind of rough texture to it, so why don't we reuse some of our fabrics and make some scrubby cloths? These are obviously cotton fabrics, or a blend of cotton and something else usually, but it's better than the full-on plastic things you're using to scrub your dishes or wash your countertops or your pots and pans or whatever. So I've made some. So I put the more of the rougher section or the texture to the curtain or lace or whatever it is to the outside, and then just sew it around. So I did this in two different ways. I used some really nice upholstery fabric here, actually. I probably had this for about 10 years. So again, another reason to reduce, reuse, recycle. You got it, you might as well use it. And it's a nice, really good, tough weave to the fabric. So that's why I was like, oh, they'd stand up to quite a few washes and dries and washes and dries. So I got these from, a local shop that used to be in, I think it still is in Erin, Ontario, Brentwood Classic. So they just gave me a big bunch of chunks, and I just cut the thing major where it was attached to off of, and off we went. So I cut a nice circular shape out of this one here, and I put it with my pinking shears. You can see a piece come right from there. And I did a pinking shear around it. So, but if you don't happen to have pinking shears, you just need to make sure you're allowing a nice seam allowance to go around, and then flip to the right side out, and then just come along and do like a little stitch all the way around to seal it in. So, and I did reduce my batting collection. So I take the little strips that I get left over from long arming or other little projects, little bits that can't be done for much, and I just chop them all up into this big pile, and that ends up becoming what's the stuffies on the inside. Or you can probably use some, whatever else you have left over, right? So, but I'm just trying to go as natural as possible. The less stuff in our water in our system and our body, the better. So, okay, so that's what I did. Of course, and the desired shape is completely up to you, right? So here, let's do this one here. And I just love the fabric, right? The fabric is so pretty. So let's just kind of fold it this way. We'll do another circular one. I used a cookie tin as inspiration here. Now, if you wanted to be specific on where it laid for the backside, I mean, you can totally get fussy cutting on this, what have you. So I was inspired actually by obviously my stash around me, but also what one of our members was working on a couple of weeks ago during one of our member Zoom meetings. And it was recycling a towel into washcloth. So thank you, April, for that little bit of inspiration of recycling and reducing, reusing of what we have around us on a daily basis. So, okay, so now I've got my little template there. I'm going to cut it out, but that's where I want to make sure I'm, it's going to kind of be my stitch line. So I'm going to go a little bit beyond this with my pinking shears. Sorry. So put a little pin there, okay? And pinking shears are great for so many things. Of course, it stops with the fraying of fabric. It adds a lovely little decorative touch to your projects, your art projects. It's great on felts and applique. You don't usually have to worry about things fraying too much when you pinking shear them. Now these, you want to make sure you have a fabric ones to do fabric, right? There is some other different beautiful edged scissors that you can use for like scrapbooking and stuff like that. So, okay, so once we have our little piece there, then we're going to take some of our curtainy bit here. I think we'll go up on this one. And we'll just make sure we're just overlapping enough. Just going to do a little rough cut. Okay, oops. And make sure you got the rough side out. Oops, okay. Like there's a rougher side and a smoother side. I'm kind of trying to get the rougher side, so it's the rougher side is out. Okay, and I'm going to put these two together, two of the right sides together, and I'm going to stitch all the way around besides a little spot where I'm going to come in and stuff it. So I'm going to do a little back stitch here, go all the way around in the circle, maybe about 1/4 of an inch from that little pinking sheared edge, and then stop right about here, do a little back stitch, stuff it to the consistency that I like. You may not want it like super pillowy like, or just want a little bit, you know, flexible to, you know, bend your hands around. I just thought a nice big one for doing the counters and the pots and even just like scrubbing the bathrooms, you know, like the walls and stuff like that, right? Okay, so now we're just gonna zip around. Gotta turn the sewing machine on. I'm having fun with my foot. I just have to remember once I turn it on, it's gonna jump right over here and I gotta like shift it over to the left. So, there we go. Pops right over. Or I could sew through there, but it's going right through that tiny little hole and that makes me nervous. I don't know about you, but that makes me nervous. Okay, so I'm going to use a little bit of the pattern as my little indicator of where I'm going to stop and go. So do a little back stitch. I'm just using a 2.40 stitch. And just scooting it all the way around. All the way around. And I've already used these in the kitchen. I've already made a few, and they work fantastic. Some of my crocheted and knitted cloths that I have had for probably about 20 years are starting to really fall apart. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to make something. Okay, so once you get all the way around, we're going to come around with the pinking shears now just to kind of tidy that edge up, and then we're just going to stuff it. Okay. I guess you could have stacked all of them and cut it at 2. I mean, you know, 6 of one, half a dozen of another, right? So now we get that off to the side. We have our little stack of chopped up batting. Apparently a little bit of extra fabric in there. A little extra fabric, never hurt nobody. And then we want to make sure that we're stuffing it in between where the two fabrics are, not between where the mesh is or the curtain is, and between where the two fabrics are. So just gently just pop in enough that you feel is going to be comfortable. And like these can also be face cloths. I mean, that little bit of roughness would help get some of the dead skin off. They'd be great for the tub for the kids so they can scrub themselves. You can make them all sorts of theme little character fabric. You can make them in little shapes of hearts and stars and whatever. I mean, the only limitation is your imagination. So go hog wild, right? Have fun. It's fabric. And then once you get it stuffed to your consistency, what you're looking for your project, whether it's for the kitchen, for the bath, for the whatever, just for playing. You know, having these, you know, is it like the little beanbag toss? But you could have these all soaking wet, and it could be like a summer little game, and you're tossing around like wet beanbags. But it wouldn't be beanbags; they'd just be like these things. Okay, I think that's pretty good. So then we're going to come right here and we're just going to sew right there to seal that up. Okay. And there's one right there. Okay, now if you wanted to do the square one or rectangular one, it's the same. The principle is the same. First, let's cut our little bits of fabric here. Just kind of even this one up here. And of course the options are endless on what you want to make. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go 5 wide. Doesn't have to be this long though. So let's go 5 by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. So here. And then we're going to put these two together once we get our little bit of fabric in between. Not a lot of people use these anymore. It'd be a great way to recycle from the shops and stuff like that. Got them on sale. Clearance. Okay, so where's the rougher side? There's the rougher side. Okay, so there, and we're going to put the right sides together. And then we'll just sew all the way around except for leaving a little gap of where we're going to stuff it. Okay. And these are with the right sides together. Kind of squishing that little canvas right in between. Okay, so let's start over here on an edge. And I was just doing like a nice rounded edge to the ones I was making. It didn't necessarily need to be pointy, so I just kind of gently curved with my hand. It's kind of like you're doing a wheelie going around the corner. You know? I'm like, whee! Mario Andretti moment. Whee! Okay, now we'll just back stitch. Trim that up. Okay, and this is what we could do just with our regular scissors. Okay, oopsies. Now I was gifted with another idea of reduce, reuse, recycle, but that'll come up on a later video. Thank you, Miss Allison, for that one. Okay, so we've got our little bits and bobs off to the side. Okay, and then we find our little gap where we left it. There we go. Okay, and we're going to turn this right side out. So we're in between where the curtain part is, or the lacy part is, and the fabric. I'm just going to slowly pop it out. This is if you don't have pinking shears or you want more of a finished edge to your projects. Okay. Or you can also do like a little French seam too. But. Okay, and then we're just going to pop out our little edges. Just kind of run our finger along the inside of where the seam is and just kind of pop out those corners. Okay. Okay, and then from there, we take a little bit of our batting and stuff it on in there. Now you can just like whip stitch this closed if you like. I like to kind of put it back underneath the machine and just, you know, if you're going to seal it up on one edge, you might as well give a little stitch all the way around. Okay. And then we just stuff it to how much you want. And then they just get tossed in the wash and dry, and without any worry about, you know, shrinking or melting or anything else like that, because it's made of natural fibers. Well, majority of it anyways. Okay. A couple of more bits. Just needs a little bit more. I mean, right now it looks like a really cute pillow that could be for like a little dollhouse or something. A lovely cushion. Okay, I think we're good. Okay, get it where we want it. We're happy. We just take those little raw edges and we just tuck them in. And we pop it underneath the machine and sew that up. Seal it up all nicely. Okay. Gonna go kind of really close to the edge. And then just go all the way around. Thought about making a couple like bigger ones. Like longer tube ones, so I can just kind of do like this little washy thing under Sophie's belly when it's all rainy outside and stuff like that, to kind of get all the stuff off but also soak up some of the stuff. You never know. Okay, and there we go. Isn't that just the cutest? And you've reduced, reused, recycled, and made some lovely washcloths for whatever reason you may need them for, whether it's the kitchen, the bathroom, or just some fun stuff for the kids to get themselves nice and clean when they're in the bath. Take care, everybody. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Greatly appreciated on our little channel. Big hugs to you, and we will see you on the next one. Take care. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood that nobody can deny. No, seriously, it's gorgeous.